A Book of Fairy Tales. Dean. Dean's A Book of Fairy Tales, 1977 edition. Illustrated by Janet and Anne Graham Johnstone. Contents: Hop o' My Thumb, page 14. Hop o' My Thumb. Once upon a time, there were 7 little boys, all brothers. Hop o' My Thumb was the youngest and smallest of them all. One day, they followed their father, a woodman, into a wood where they had never been before. The family were very poor, and their father worked from sunrise to sunset for money to buy food and clothes for them all. The boys were all too young to work, but they thought they might gather some sticks to sell in the village for firewood. As they ran deeper into the wood, some of the boys began to cry, but Hop o' My Thumb told them not to be afraid. "But we are lost," sobbed one of the boys. "Come on," cried Tom, the eldest. "We must find Father." "Let us gather some sticks," said Hop o' My Thumb. "Then we can go home." "We don't know how to get home," said Teddy, next to the youngest. "I do," said Hop o' My Thumb, who had filled all his pockets with pebbles from the banks of a little stream earlier in the day, and had been dropping them behind him as he followed his brothers into the wood. "Oh, look, there's a cottage behind the trees," cried Tom. "I'll ask them if they can give us a drink of water," said Hop o' My Thumb. The old lady who opened the door said, "Go away, little boy. A fierce giant lives here, and he does not like children. He is counting his gold under a tree." At that moment, the giant came running towards them, wearing his 7-league boots. The boys took to their heels and fled, while the giant came striding after them. But Hop o' My Thumb still went on scattering pebbles as he led his brothers in and out of the trees, trying to tire the giant out, for the boys were young and thin, and the giant was old and fat. "Oh, goodness, what shall I do if he catches us?" cried Tim, the next to the eldest. "He won't catch us," promised brave little Hop o' My Thumb. "Listen, I can't hear him crashing through the bushes now, can you?" And all his brothers shook their heads. "Well," said Hop o' My Thumb, sitting on a log, "I think we have been very lucky indeed." His 6 brothers were so tired after their running up and down and in and out of the woodland trees to try to escape the giant, that they decided to lie down and have a little nap before following Hop o' My Thumb's pebbles out of the wood. "It was a wonderful idea," said Tom. "Now we can soon get home again." But while his brothers slept, Hop o' My Thumb kept trying to think of some way of getting money for their mother and father. In a little while, his brothers wakened up, and they all washed their hands and faces in a woodland pool. Then, on their way home, they came on the giant, fast asleep and snoring, and Hop o' My Thumb had another bright idea. Very carefully, he pulled off one of the sleeping giant's 7-league boots, and he began to put his foot in it. To the brothers' surprise, the 7-league boot grew as tiny as Hop o' My Thumb's own foot and fitted him perfectly, and as soon as he began to put on the other 7-league boot, that also began to grow smaller. "They're magic boots," whispered Hop o' My Thumb. "Now I'm going back to the cottage in the wood, and you must come after me as fast as you can, but be very quiet in case the horrid old giant wakes up." And smiling at his brothers, he set off as fast as the wind in the 7-league boots. The brothers ran after Hop o' My Thumb as quietly as they could, and the giant, who had eaten a huge dinner that day, and as he was fat and lazy, did not awake. He loved sleeping almost as much as he loved his bag of gold. "I wonder what Hop o' My Thumb is going to do," said Teddy, the next to youngest brother, as they ran through the wood, keeping the pebbles in sight so that they would not lose their way. When Hop o' My Thumb reached the giant's cottage, he told the housekeeper that the giant wanted his bag of gold at once, and he had lent him his boots to get it quickly. She brought out the bag of gold, and Hop o' My Thumb thanked her and staggered off with it to meet his brothers. Sitting down under a tree, Hop o' My Thumb waited for them to arrive, and when they did, they could hardly believe their eyes. "You are clever, Hop o' My Thumb," cried Tom. Then Hop o' My Thumb picked up the bag of gold again. At home, the boys' mother and father were very, very upset. Their father had turned back to look for them in the wood, but he had somehow missed them. He had hunted for them for hours and had then gone back home, hoping to find them there safe and well. Their mother cried bitterly, and they had all told their neighbors, who said they would search the wood and fields for them when they had finished work. But it was growing dark before they were ready to start the search, and a mist was rising from the valley. "Oh dear," sobbed the boy's mother, "we shall never see our dear little sons again." And then, oh joy! There came the sound of whistling outside the cottage and the tramping of feet. "It's our boys!" cried the mother, and she and their father ran out, their father carrying his lantern. "Oh, Mother and Father, we are rich!" cried Hop o' My Thumb. "Now we can buy a food farm, and we can all help Father with the work."